Ashes of Creation is an MMO that's been on my radar for about 7 or 8 years now. That's because it's been in development for this long, and we've only just got the Alpha 2 release. The first announcement of this project was on May the 1st, 2017 over on Kickstarter, where the project received just over $3.25 million. This isn't the first Kickstarter MMO we've seen. This one has the bonus of several big names within the MMO industry being part of the development. As stated on their Kickstarter, massively multiplayer role-playing games are probably the most challenging genre in the industry. We are a team of veterans who are aware of this and have lived through these challenges. Some Kickstarter MMOs have been stamped with the label of scam, whereas others are stuck in development hell. An endless cycle of early access development with no real end in sight. One of these games, which I might use a few times within this video as a comparison tool, is Star Citizen. Star Citizen is a sci-fi futuristic shooter sort of MMO. It was initially backed on April 7th, 2013 with a funding of just over $2 million. Since then, the website allows you to spend thousands of dollars on virtual ships, and they even keep careful track of their backing, which is publicly available on the same website. The reason I'm using Star Citizen as a comparison tool is because Ashes of Creation's recent attempt to receive more funding. While I've never developed an MMO, I can safely say with their current team and the fact they've been in development for so many years, they burned through that initial cash stack a long time ago. So the need for new funding is really not surprising. With the recent release of Alpha 2, Intrepid Studios decided to announce on a devlog livestream that they were going to need some new testers for this phase. They wanted to stress that, and I quote, "This is an actual alpha. We're not a game where we're just porting over or translating to another region. This is a proper alpha. We are here to test things and get things moving along," meaning there wouldn't be a lot of game at hand to play. Anything you do during this test will not carry over to live service, and you must understand that you are there to test the servers, the systems, and the current gameplay available. One really cool thing they decided to do is there is no NDA. You are free to record and live stream the current release. So how did they choose alpha testers? Did they put out some social media posts to hire testers? No. They locked it behind a $120 paywall. You know, back in my day, testing games during the early stages of development was actually a paid position. In fact, I applied to many of these when I was younger. I never actually got the opportunity to test any games early, sadly, but maybe that's a good thing. I feel like jamming yourself into every single wall trying to get yourself to clip out of bounds could actually kill your love for gaming. So, is it worth it? Should you back it? For 99% of you watching this, the answer is no. This is not a game. This is an alpha test. It's going to be buggy. You'll get limited playtime, there's not going to be much to do or much exploration to see, but if you've been following the development of Ashes, you've got the money to spare and you genuinely want to help this company improve on what systems are currently active, then hell yeah, you should back this. You should buy into the early access. Just know that from my understanding, this does not give you access to any other stages of development, and it certainly doesn't come with any in-game time once the game fully launches. Since don't forget, Ashes is going to be a pay-to-play game. So I'm going to be completely honest with you here. I'm 50-50 on this. I really like their approach in the sense that they're being very open. They're being very honest, and the studio is saying this is a testing phase. It's not early access to a game. And I also completely understand that $3 million is not nearly enough to fund your typical MMO, especially not one that is as ambitious as Ashes is trying to be. But on the other hand, the shop has FOMO written all over it. You can purchase access up to November the 1st, but entry doesn't begin until November the 8th. So even though there is no NDA, we won't get to see new first player reactions until it's too late. We can then choose to back into the second wave, but then you need to wait until December the 20th for access. And this only has a $10 discount from the $120. So it costs $110. Also, don't forget that Intrepid did set the target on the Kickstarter, and they all claim to be veterans within the genre. And in fact, one of the pledges on the Kickstarter was for Alpha 2 access, at the price of $150. So it cost more 7 years ago to access this phase of the game than it does now. And don't forget they also had bonus of FOMO back then, potentially even more since players wouldn't have expected them to do a second release of keys. So this could have actually pushed a few backers to actually spend extra money that they didn't initially plan on spending. Though to be fair, back with the Kickstarter, there are a lot of other small things that come with it. These new keys are definitely only access to Alpha 2, nothing else comes with them. So the other things you got for backing the game on Kickstarter I think are well and truly worth a value of $30 or more. It's very hard to make videos like this and keep an open mind. Personally, I will not be buying into Alpha 2, and I also didn't back the game on Kickstarter. Something to me just seemed odd from the start. It reminds me of the first time I stumbled across the day before back on Steam. The trailer just seemed off from the very first moment. I looked at it and immediately I got this feeling that this game is not real. Now, to clarify, I have similar feelings towards Ashes, but definitely not the same. I am well aware Ashes is a real game. It is clear that this game is being worked on and being developed. There's evidence for it. And I do think that we're still going to see a steady flow of development. I just worry that it's going to actually end up more like Star Citizen, in this early development nightmare stage. There are some big promises here, a game I think every MMO fan could be excited for. However, the initial request of $750,000 is alarmingly small. But let's not forget, Kickstarter has an all or nothing funding style, meaning if you don't get fully funded, your backers will actually be refunded. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if they purposely set a lower target just to ensure that they got funding. Unfortunately, there are a few moments during development that really put me off. The first one was the random release of their Battle Royale mode. They claimed this was to test their combat system, but you could have released something a lot closer to an actual MMO. Why not develop a small dungeon and have people run through it with set classes using set gear? The answer is simple. Battle Royale style games were blowing up at the time. Things like Fortnite, PUBG, H1Z1. All of these games were dominating the gaming world. Surely the time spent on developing this Battle Royale game mode could have been spent on working on the actual MMO. On top of that, I've heard reports that there was an active cash shop in this Battle Royale game mode, and that to me just screams alarm bells. This alpha access is another off-putting moment for me. The last part that really concerns me is Steven Sharif. I was doing some research for this video and I found myself going down a rabbit hole. I vaguely remember Ashes having some weird multi-level marketing system around their subscription. And while Steven likes to claim that this is not a pyramid scheme, or MLM as they've been rebranded to these days, I disagree. Though as you're about to find out, Steven is clearly much more of a marketing expert than I am. 8 years ago, Steven actually addressed this post on Reddit. And this is my first time reading it. And honestly, this really scares me. I'm going to read the post in full. I don't want anyone thinking that I'm cherry picking parts to fit any form of narrative. Hey guys, I've read some of the posts about our referral program, as well as concern over my income from multi-level marketing. I am personally one who strongly believes in transparency and want to be involved in the community as possible. So I will give some input to this discussion. When I was 15, I started a marketing business, trying to sell nutritional drinks using commercials on AM talk radio stations. This became very successful very quick. When I turned 18, I decided to start working for a company called Zango. I wasn't the CEO of Zango, as some people are saying, nor did I help create a company. I was just a normal sign-up, and I created a website that I used my marketing company to help promote and sell their juice and vitamins with. By the time I was 20, I was selling a lot of the juice and vitamins, and rose to be one of the top sellers of the company. About 7 years ago, I moved into investments and real estate, which is the source of a majority of my success. Many people consider the MLM industry to be a pyramid scheme, but there are actually good MLMs out there that can provide people with good incomes. I was lucky to find a good one that had great products and that allowed me at a young age to become successful enough to begin investing and buying real estate. Very quickly, I want to say this quote really annoys me, and to me it screams of someone who is very well off and is quite out of touch from the norm. I say this because of how he's talking about where he made and makes his money. Real estate was the best form of investment over the last few decades. Only now as it's starting to balance out, it's no longer as profitable to invest in. And that's due to the rising cost in property. This rise is because of so many people buying so many different properties. They buy these to rent. And what this does is it completely adjusts the supply and demand. Over time, rent is able to go up because property costs are so high. But rent is so much more affordable than properties, and thanks to this, it has just skyrocketed up and up and up to an absolute all-time high, where unfortunately the average wage is nowhere near the same sort of balance as property prices has gone up. So what this means is to make money out of real estate, somebody less fortunate has to lose out. The people that have to pay rent because they can't afford to buy properties because this price is just going so high. And this is the same as MLMs. There are no good MLMs. especially not the one that he worked for. Steven worked for an MLM called ZanGo, who according to the US Food and Drug Administration used illegal marketing materials to promote mangosteen juice, claiming it has many health benefits including anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antifungal, antiviral, anti-cancer, anti-ulcer, anti-hepatotoxic, anti-rhinoviral, and anti-allergic effects. The US administration said these are false claims as they have no scientific proof behind any of it. Finally, my take on the quote where Steven claims that MLMs can provide people with a good income. For anybody to benefit off MLMs, it is always at the expense of someone, usually many someones, less fortunate. In this case, lots of potentially ill people, and quite possibly cancer patients by the sounds of their marketing strategy. But the good news is your game is absolutely in good hands when it comes to funding. I truly believe that Steven could probably fund this whole thing by himself if he wanted to. And the other good news is you don't really build an MMO for profit and to scam people. Well, normally you don't. Obviously there's been a few Kickstarter ones which have tried it. I have absolutely no doubts that this game is real, and I have no doubts it's going to be continued to be developed. But I'll leave the rest up to you, and I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments down below, even if they rival my own. Many games that have released have questionable CEOs, but if it's good, we'll still play them. Many films have controversial actors, but if the film's good, we'll watch it. All I'll say is to always be patient when it comes to handing over your money. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye bye.